This question asks about how the eruption of Mount Pinatubo in 1991 affected the global climate. When the volcano erupted, it released a lot of gases, including sulfur dioxide, which reacted with water to form aerosol particles. These aerosols spread across the atmosphere and blocked some of the sun's energy from reaching Earth's surface, which caused a temporary cooling of the planet. The best question to investigate this effect is option C. Do aerosol particles of this type cause the amount of solar energy that reaches Earth's surface to increase or decrease? This question focuses on how the aerosols influence the amount of sunlight reaching Earth, which directly relates to climate change. Other options are less relevant because option A, lava temperature, relates to the eruption itself, not its climate effects. Option B, rainfall, is a local effect rather than a global climate impact. Option D, gas temperature, compares volcanoes but does not address climate effects. So, studying aerosol particles and their impact on solar energy is the best way to understand how Mount Pinatubo's eruption affected global temperatures. A La Niña event causes cooler ocean temperatures near Central America, leading to more cloud formation. These clouds block sunlight from reaching plants in the tropical forests. From the graph, we can see that as light intensity increases, CO2 uptake also increases, meaning plants photosynthesize more when they get more light. If a La Niña event reduces the amount of sunlight reaching the plants, then the rate of photosynthesis will decrease because plants will take in less CO2. Prediction: during a La Niña event, photosynthesis in tropical forests decreases because less sunlight reaches the plants. Evidence: the graph shows that CO2 uptake, a measure of photosynthesis, increases with more light, so if light is reduced due to cloud cover, photosynthesis will slow down. The problem asks, which evidence could be used to challenge the biologist's claim that purple flowers in the population of plants attract more pollinators than other flower colors do? The key idea is to find which answer challenges or goes against the claim. The correct answer is A because it provides evidence that not all types of pollinators were attracted to the purple flowers, which challenges the claim that purple flowers attract more pollinators overall. Why answer A challenges the claim? Since purple flowers did not attract butterflies or beetles, they did not attract all types of pollinators. This suggests that while purple flowers were popular among certain pollinators, they were not universally more attractive than other flower colors. If purple flowers truly attracted more pollinators overall, we would expect a jeer. Thus, A is the best choice because it highlights a key weakness in the claim. Purple flowers may not be universally attractive to all pollinators. The correct answer is A, the amplitude only. From the table, we can see that when the amplitude increases from 0.2 meters to 0.4 meters, the energy increases from 200 joules to 800 joules. This also holds true for trials 2 and 4. However, when the wavelength changes from 8.0 meters to 16.0 meters, the energy remains the same. This indicates that energy depends on amplitude but not on wavelength. This follows the wave-energy relationship, where the energy of a wave is proportional to the square of its amplitude. Since wavelength does not affect the energy in the data, we can conclude that the energy depends only on amplitude. The problem states, select the checkboxes to indicate what happens to the gravitational potential energy of a stone Earth system when each indicated change to the system is made. For this type of problem, you'll need to look at the variables in the data table and make sure the one you are interested in changes while the others are kept constant. The first statement says, a round stone is replaced with a rectangular stone. Looking at the data table, the last two rows keep the mass and height constant while changing from a round to rectangular stone. For this case, the gravitational potential energy remains constant at 30 joules. The second statement says, a stone is replaced with another stone of half the mass. For this one, there are two ways to look at it that will both come to the same answer. The first one shown keeps stone shape and height constant, while changing the mass from 2 kilograms to 1 kilogram. In this case, the gravitational potential energy decreases from 20 to 30 joules. The second way to check your answer is to look at another example where everything is kept constant and the mass is cut in half, as shown above. In this case, the mass decreases from 60 to 30 joules. Therefore, the correct answer is decreases. The final statement says, the stone is lifted to a height that is 2 meters higher. For this one, it is not possible to hold the stone shape variable constant while moving the rock 2 meters higher. But we have already concluded that the shape of the rock does not affect the gravitational potential energy of the system. Therefore, we only need to keep the mass constant while changing the height. From this, we can conclude that increasing the height increases the gravitational potential energy. This can also be backed up with a second example in the data table. Select the 3 statements that are most likely correct. Layer C is below layer B, so layer C is older. In sedimentary rock, the deeper the layer, the older it is. Since layer C is under layer B, it formed earlier. Layer A is at the top, so it is the youngest layer. The top layer is the most recent one to form, so layer A is the youngest. The ammonite fossil is above the crinoid fossil, so the crinoid is older. Since the crinoid fossil is found in the bottom layer, layer E, and the ammonite is in layer C, that means the crinoid is older. It's buried deeper. The last statement is not correct. There is no coral fossil in layer D, so corals must have become extinct. Just because coral isn't found in one layer doesn't mean it went extinct. It might just not have been preserved in that layer. The last answer choice. The gastropod fossils are above the crinoid fossil, so gastropods evolved from crinoids, is incorrect because the order of fossils in rock layers shows relative age, not evolutionary relationships. In the image, the crinoid fossil is found in the deepest layer, layer E, and gastropod fossils appear in higher layers, layers AD. This means crinoids lived earlier in time than gastropods, but it does not mean that gastropods evolved from crinoids. Crinoids and gastropods are 2 completely different types of organisms. Crinoids are related to sea stars and belong to a group called echinoderms, while gastropods are mollusks, like snails. They are not part of the same evolutionary line. Just because one fossil is found below another doesn't mean it evolved into it. It only tells us which lived earlier based on the rock layers. The diagram shows the embryos of a pig and a chicken at the same stage of development. Even though pigs and chickens are very different animals as adults, their embryos look quite similar. The question asks which explanation best describes why this happens. Answer choice A says pigs and chickens are in the same genus. This is incorrect. Pigs are mammals, and chickens are birds, so they are not closely related enough to be in the same genus. Answer choice B says all vertebrate embryos have the same DNA. This is also incorrect. While vertebrate embryos may share some common genes, each species has its own unique DNA. Answer choice C says embryos grow by undergoing mutations. This is misleading. Although mutations can happen, they are not the main reason why embryos develop into different species. Normal development is guided by the organism's DNA, not by random mutations. Answer choice D says some developmental processes are shared by vertebrates. This is the best explanation. Vertebrates share a common evolutionary history, so their embryos go through similar stages early in development before developing into different adult forms. Plastic B can help conserve natural resources in 2 ways. First, it is made from corn, which is a renewable resource that can be grown again, while plastic A is made from oil, a non-renewable resource that takes millions of years to form. Second, plastic B uses less energy to produce, 12.1 megajoules per kilogram compared to 16.5 megajoules for plastic A. Using less energy helps conserve fossil fuels and reduces environmental impact. This problem presents an experiment where scientists tested how elevation affects the height of a flowering plant. They collected seeds from plants growing at 2 different elevations, high elevation and near sea level, and then planted those seeds at both elevations. The results show whether the plant's height depends more on the seed's origin, genetics, or where it's grown, environment. Here's what the data shows. Seeds from high elevation plants grew short at both high elevation and sea level. Seeds from sea level plants grew tall at both sea level and high elevation. This tells us that the plant's height depends on where the seeds came from, not where they were planted. So the genetic traits carried by the seeds are the main factor controlling plant height, not the environment. Now let's look at the answer choices and select the two statements about the height of this species of plant that are most likely correct. The height of the plants is most directly controlled by genetic factors. Correct. The data shows the same seed type grows to the same height no matter where it's planted. The height of the plants is most directly controlled by environmental conditions. Incorrect. The environment didn't change the plant height. Genetics did. Near sea level, the taller plants are better able to survive and reproduce than the shorter plants are. Correct. Since only tall plants are found near sea level, it's likely that being tall helps them survive and reproduce better in that environment. At higher elevations, the taller plants are better able to survive and reproduce than the shorter plants are. Incorrect. In high elevations, only short plants are found, suggesting taller plants do not have an advantage there. In this problem, the student moves from position A, near the top of the ramp, to position B, at the bottom of the ramp. The graph shows how speed and kinetic energy are related. First, let's look at the speed. At position A, near the top of the ramp, the student is moving slowly, about 3 meters per second. At position B, a little further down the ramp, the student is going faster, about 6 meters per second. So as the student moves down the ramp, the speed doubles from 3 meters per second to 6 meters per second. Now let's look at the kinetic energy. At position A, the kinetic energy is about 200 joules. At position B, it increases to about 800 joules. So as the speed doubles, the kinetic energy doesn't just double, it approximately quadruples. This happens because kinetic energy depends on the square of the speed. So when speed doubles, kinetic energy goes up by 2 squared, which equals 4 times more energy.